as some of you may know, I got one of my dream animals behind me here, the emerald grass lizards, also known as the TAKYDROMUS smaragdinus, a few months ago, and today we have a super exciting update for you. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what I'm about to be showing you, these are the TAKYDROMUS, the emerald grass lizards. If you haven't seen the other videos, I'll leave a card up in one of those two corners for you guys to go check out, and that'll be the getting them, the setting up their tank. Let's get this party started. There's some good news. We have babies. Before we jump into it, I do have a few housekeeping things that I need to cover. Most notably, it's a voice crack, but whatever. Most notably, the new business my girlfriend and I started. It is called thejunglevault.ca. I'll leave a link down below for you guys to go check it out. But basically, our mission is to bring you guys the best captive bred reptiles. There's also going to be lots of plants and even custom tanks. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, we will be answering them. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email us, whatever. Get in contact with us. We'll be producing and selling Chihuahua, fat-tailed geckos, the TAKYDROMUS that you're about to see, as well as hognoses. So make sure you send us an email. If you guys are in the States, there is US shipping available. It is not cheap, but it is doable. I am also planning a group shipment, so that'll make it very, very cheap comparatively. If you guys are interested, again, get in contact with us. If you haven't, click subscribe or like down below, leave a comment. Remember to do that because it definitely helps me out and it lets me know what you guys want to see more of in the future. And secondly, before we get to the babies, I think that it's about time we give this bad boy a bit of a remake. This tank is just not looking like it was. So before we do that, I need to catch them out of here because it will be a little bit hectic with 3 of them running around as I'm trying to take out plants, replace plants, do all of the things. So let's go. So trying to catch these guys is not an easy feat, especially for somebody like me with giant, big, burly ape hands. And a tank that is full of little tiny twigs does not equal a clean extraction. So essentially all I did was chase them to the front and into the bin themselves. A few of them ran into the corner and I ended up just grabbing them there. It worked out well, nobody lost their tail, and nobody escaped, so I guess that's an overall win. And I'm going to put these guys in the rack. I'm going to go right up here. Easy. Now, a few days ago, Brie and I went to the garden center and picked up some plants for various tanks, not just the TAKYDROMUS. This plant here is definitely going in. Hopefully this is a tropical. I think it's like a lyriope or something. Lyriope? I don't know. Apparently it's in the family of the mondo grasses. Not sure if it's fully tropical or if it's just going to be a kind of temporary few-month plant and then die. Hopefully not. This is a spider plant. It's doing very well in the tank already, so I got a couple, there's a couple in there extra to put in there and fill out the rest of the tank. And I'm also debating on putting this Tradescantia in there as well. At least a couple little heads of it. I don't know. I don't want to fill it up too much, so we'll see what the rest of these plants do. But the rest of these are for Chihuahua and the Urodactylodes. Now you guys have probably seen this thing here. It is a beneficial mite pack, so it basically is mites that will eat and kill the thrips as well as their larvae. So I throw one of these in there just to hopefully seed it with some mites. It's been in there for about a week and a bit now, so I'm going to take that out. It's pretty much done its job, and then I'm just going to go through here and clean up the grass and a few different things to kind of make this tank look a little bit better. All I'm really doing here is removing all the dead plant matter. That grass didn't do terribly well in the back there, but it was one of their favorite hiding spots. I found after keeping these guys for a couple months and after several clutches, I thought maybe they would lay in the sphagnum cluster that I left under the coconut hut that you guys will see later on. Unfortunately, they didn't, and they ended up laying all the time in the back behind this little clump of grass. Oh, hey, look. Clutch. Come in here, mark that. No idea when these were laid or how long they've been there, but check that out. That's sweet. Let's go. With the TAKYDROMUS, it seems like the parents will actually eat the babies if they are left to hatch in the tanks. So you do want to make sure you're removing the eggs and incubating them on their own, because the babies won't fight, but the parents might think it's a baby-sized snack. And now that we're continuing on with the excavation of the tank, the only thing I need to really do now is take out this remaining kind of brick of the old grass that was in the back. As you can see, there are still a few living parts of it, so I am going to replace it in the tank afterwards just to see if it comes back. Now you can see this is the final product. I've cleaned up all that I wanted to. Let's start preparing these plants to get put in the tank and hopefully thriving. Now, when choosing plants to put in your tank, you want to do a couple things while you're at the garden center. First off, you want to ask if they're using any harsh pesticides or really any pesticides at all. In more recent years, it seems more and more commonplace for garden centers to be using biological controls like mites, parasitic wasps, that kind of deal. So there's less and less pesticides being used. However, with that in mind, it's still definitely worth asking one of the growers there. I probably wouldn't ask like one of the cashiers or something, but if you go to one of the growers, they'll know what they're talking about. Regardless of their answer, in an ideal world, you'd let your plants grow out in a quarantine bin for 2 weeks minimum, up to like several months would be ideal. But I know not all of us have that luxury. Like here, we had only bought these plants about 3 or 4 days in advance. I'm about to give them a huge rinse down after I'm done removing all the soil. Ideally, you think far and ahead and buy a lot of plants ahead of time so you can do that in quarantine. But if not, then no worries. You just want to make sure they have no pests on them, or visible to you at least. Looking for scale, mealybugs, thrips is a huge one that we ran into a lot at almost every single garden center. Lots of different pests to research and know what you're looking at when you're looking for plants for your tanks. The process here is pretty simple. I'm just going to go through the roots, pat them off, as well as go through and try and shake as much of the dirt out as possible. You certainly don't need to do this, but in one of the pots later on, you'll actually see that they're starting to use a substitute for perlite, so stay tuned for that. And due to the magic of editing, we are at that point. This pot is the one with the substitute for perlite. As you can see right here, it's actually styrofoam. I know it's hard to believe, and I definitely wouldn't recommend using it in your reptiles tank, because if you thought perlite was hard to digest, go ahead and try and digest styrofoam. With that being said, it still works for repotting other plants into, so some of the aeroids that I have will actually probably like this mixture quite a bit, so I'm going to use it for that. If you aren't going through the roots of your plant and trying to remove as much dirt as possible, do keep this in mind and maybe think about giving it a spray down just in case. Now that we've gone over that, it's time to go over the rest of the plants, get them unpotted, and check out how root-bound this Tradescantia is. It's crazy. After we're done separating some of the roots, it's now time to go over and give them a hose down. I did take some B-roll on my iPhone, so I'll play that right now. All I did was simply blast them with the hose, and that should remove any of the larger pests, such as mealybugs, aphids, even some thrips. This will definitely help clear them off your plants, so make sure you do this step if nothing else. Now that we have soaked them, it is time to finally get planting and get this tank looking the way it should be. Now, as you can see, we already have that big chunk of grass in there. There wasn't a whole lot of thought that goes behind this. It was mostly just fitting as many plants in there as I possibly could. And honestly, I think I did a pretty good job. I put one in the back there. I ended up putting another Tradescantia dead center. Here is the before, and here is the after. I think that is a huge difference, and I am very happy with how it looks right now. I'm just hoping this stuff will actually grow and do well as time progresses, as opposed to very quickly decline and go downhill. I'm really excited to put the Takys back in here and to see how they like the new grass and the new setup. Now that their tank is all finished, we can take these guys out. Stay in the container. Cool. Here you go. Same cage, just a whole lot more plants for you guys to enjoy. That's a Billy. For those of you who have stuck with me or just used the chapters feature and skipped right to the babies, we can go to the babies. Let's go. So these are the baby Takydromus that we have already hatched. And truth be told, I did not get nearly as much footage of them hatching as I expected to, because the first one hatched on August 25th. I went out for dinner with Emma Sampson, you guys might know her on YouTube. We came home only to realize that one of my baby TAKYDROMUS had hatched and is now running around the incubator. It was one of the happiest moments in herpetoculture that I can remember. It's really a rewarding feeling to kind of put your mind towards something and actually succeed at it. It's something that's really hard to explain, especially in short form. So if you guys are interested in something like that, maybe I'll make a podcast or, you know, something about it. But being that I was so excited, I really only took this photo and a very short video showing how small they really were when they first hatched. Now, this is kind of where my, I guess, research failed me, because the research I did said that these guys can hatch anywhere around 60 days, maybe slightly more than that. The guys that I found in here had hatched after about 32 to 35 days at 81 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's something that I'm definitely keeping in my notes. And when I hatch more and find eggs right when they're laid, I'm gonna try incubating them at room temperature and seeing if I notice any difference in incubation time, the size of the babies, and just how they do right out of the egg. But that's, you know, data points for later down the road. What came along with me finding them as a surprise is having to set up this tank for them. I set up this tank in like 2.5 minutes. Thankfully, it was empty and already had substrate and a couple of the branches and stuff in there. It was relatively easy to just walk around the room and find some plants that, you know, can be donated to a good cause. This 12 by 12 by 12 Exoterra seems like more than enough space to house several babies, or at least to raise them. I definitely wouldn't recommend housing the adults in a tank this size because I think that's much too small, but as juveniles to babies, I think it's great. Now, in addition to the lack of video that I caught, I actually did catch the very first TAKYDROMUS baby absolutely biffing on trying to hunt for the first time. Check it out. And then this guy was the second one to come out of the egg. Again, I didn't film much of it because I was just so excited, and I really did just want to get him into his new home, but he's here now, he's eating as you guys can see, and they're all doing really well. So happy I decided to make the jump into something a little bit less common, but super cool in the pet trade. And I must say, it is one heck of a feeling to produce something that you really put your mind to. I know I already said it once, but next up is the Euros. The female Euro is looking thick, so I think it's time for them next. Alright you guys, and that is going to do it for the video. I still got a bunch more stuff to do involving planting a bunch more plants in the Viridactylodes tanks behind the iguana there. I got a lot more stuff to do, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I had a blast filming it. It was really nice to get some much needed new plants in with the TAKYDROMUS, because simply put, they definitely needed it, and I'm really happy the way it turned out. It looks basically just like a grassland jungle type area, so really stoked with that. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Make sure you check out our website. We ship all across Canada as well as can ship to the States, so if you guys are interested, check that out. And if you guys want to see more updates on the Emerald Dragons in the future, let me know in the comments down below. Have a good one. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.